Hi, welcome back to more educational information regarding exposure therapy. We're going to be talking about the fear hierarchy. And the point of the fear hierarchy is if someone has some type of phobia, you can do one of two ways that I explained before. And way one is what you call flooding, where it just is as much of the stimuli that is feared as possible all at once right there, and they stay in that, for which we really don't do that unless there's special occasions. And the other one we're talking about is the that gradual exposure towards the object. So the idea would be something that is manageable all the way to something that the person says, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. And when we create this fear hierarchy, we're making a roadmap for the person, be it the clinician and the client, to agree upon to follow. So it's better explained through an example than anything else. So let's do something that might not cause any anxiety for any of you out there. So let's say that there's a fear of an object, let's say a pen. And the idea behind the exposure would be, I want to get the person to get gradually closer to that stimuli at a pace to which they can handle. So it's challenging, but not too challenging. And in the last video, if you look it up about SUDs, we're going to be using SUDs to be able to create our fear hierarchy. So with the fear hierarchy, you have something from, I think I used 0 to 10. So 10 would be an anchor point. So if I'm afraid of pens, I would be, a 10 might be something like holding the pen. And the pen might be close to my face. So that'll be an anchor point. Then let's say we have numbers in between. Let's say it's a 5, is that I would be, I don't know, with my SUDs at a 5, it would be something like, pen that is, well, let's just say 15 feet away from me. And then let's say something like at a 1 would be a pen 100 feet away from me. So on a scale of 0 to 10 for SUDs, I created an anchor point. And a 10 is I'm having a panic attack, right? A 5 is that moderate anxiety, able to cope, but it's hard to concentrate. And then a 1 or a 0 would be telling you at 100 feet, I'm not really bothered by that concept. And then what we do is we fill in the in-betweens. Maybe instead of a pen being 100 feet, the SUDS rating would be at a 2 or a 2.5. It was at 50 feet or something. And we get closer and closer to the point where we get to that spot. Now, we do fill in all these areas, and if we find that a 3 on the SUDS, when we start facing it, is too high, we go, okay, maybe we should move a few feet back to make it a 2 or something like that, actual proximity-wise, to create that distance. But the big picture still is that we create the steps that are manageable for the individual to where they feel they can get uncomfortable or anxious enough and stay with it. So they're brave enough, and it's a challenge enough to stay with it. And then eventually through that parasympathetic nervous system kicking in, they start to feel subjectively less anxious through the sub-reportings that we have. And so once we have each level, we go, okay, that one's easy, we're conquered, we're done with, this number, let's say the number 5, which is also your SUDS 5, and it's no longer 15 feet, we say we take a step in, and it should be at a 6. And so eventually the SUDS starts to decrease by the person's reporting and not by the clinician. So each time we do any of these exposures, the client always has the power and the control. Think of it like it's similar to that of a driver's ed teacher, and how you've got the driver's ed teacher next to the person who's learning how to drive, and they have a steering wheel and they have a gas and they have the brakes on the other side. So even though, let's say, if I am, be it the driver, the driver's ed teacher, well, I should say the driver's ed teacher being the client, they have the right at any moment to hit the brakes or to turn the wheel, because they are just as in control as I am throughout this entire process. So everything gets to a grinding halt if it is too much, and we can always back away from it. So at any moment with any of these exposures for the phobias, it's always enough for them to feel uncomfortable but not overwhelmed. And then once that one is conquered and they feel like, you know what, that one doesn't bother me anymore, they go, okay, well, let's go up on our hierarchy and let's go to the next one. And then we go little bit by little bit. And then also throughout therapy between the sessions, we also have them face it on a daily basis if they're willing to do that, which is why homework is extremely important. So when they do it between sessions, you might find that by the time we get back, they go, the 5 is no longer a 5 for me, or the 6 or the 7 is no longer a 6 or a 7. I'm willing to kind of do the worst thing. Or I've had situations where a person came back and they go, I'm no longer afraid of this thing. After they've gone through, let's say 1 through 5, and they started picking up some momentum at home, they start pushing the envelope and they get excited because they're making those changes that they haven't made in a very long time. And that is, personally, I absolutely love that. Now that's not expected. The minimum would be coming in, doing the exposure, and then time passes and we do it again. If you want to get the maximum amount of benefit from therapy, then it's not just therapy in session, it's your own homework and therapy outside a session based upon what is agreed upon. So little bit by little bit, right? Just able to push enough to be uncomfortable and stay with that until it's no longer uncomfortable. Once that one is conquered, we go to the next step. It's just a little bit by little bit. You don't have to take on the whole world. You don't, if the old phrase, you don't have to eat the entire elephant. You could just take a few bites at a time, and eventually you find that you've made a lot more progress than you have in a very long time. So hopefully this is a better explanation for the fear hierarchy for those who have phobias, little bit by little bit, and then the stimuli that I show you on the shorts and also on the normal videos that reflect the stimuli that can be done that we have, but it doesn't have to be at that intensity. So go ahead and just think about that. If you have any questions, I do answer some comments if you ever like to, but this is just an understanding of the fear hierarchy, the roadmap to the exposure process for your specific phobia. So thank you.